I want to bring in Retired Colonel Steve Ganyard, ABC News analyst and consultant. And Steve, you and I were talking before we came on the air here just about where Ukraine stands right now. He joins us from our Washington bureau. And Steve, you've got the map of where Ukraine was before the war and where it stands now after the invasion. Just bring our viewers at home up to speed on how much of the land there in the east that the Russians now control.
Yeah, David, this is a map that shows 3.5 years ago, where you see here's the totality of Ukraine, here are the small areas that were owned by partisan separatists in Crimea and this part of the Donbas. Let's move forward to today. We see the region here, it's about 20% of Ukraine that the Russians have taken control of. So this is the front line here that delineates where the fighting is occurring. You can see that here what we have is Russians controlling this part of eastern Ukraine. And if we look about here, we can see what the Russians actually want. We know that Putin has come into these negotiations and he has said, I want the rest of Donetsk. I want to be able to say, this part is mine that I don't own. This part of Zaporizhia I want. I want this down at Kherson. But the real goal is to get the rest of the Donbas here. Why? Because it's a rich agricultural area. It's where the majority of industrial production comes from. And underneath the ground, there is critical minerals like titanium and lithium and coal. And so this is the consolation prize. There's no way that Ukraine can accede to this kind of releasing this much territory to Putin. So as the president has said, he's not going to negotiate today on who gets what. But this is what the expectation is that Putin is going to ask for. It will be a very difficult negotiation because neither Putin can show much leeway and Zelensky cannot afford to give up this much of Ukrainian territory.
That's really the rub here. Look at how significant that area is in the eastern part of Ukraine. Steve, leave those circles right up there, actually, if you want to throw them back up, because they're super helpful for our audience.
Okay.
You know, in the east right there, right behind Steve, anywhere where there are stripes along that eastern region of Ukraine, that's where Russia has made significant advances since this invasion. And Steve, all those circles that you've just put back on the map, as Steve points out, that's what they want in addition to the area where they have made strategic advances. Reuters and other agencies estimate up to 20% of Ukraine is now in Russia's hands. And Steve, this is going to be the central question of these discussions. Even if they get the ceasefire today, then you're going to get, you know, Trump would like to get both Zelensky and Putin together at a table, perhaps with President Trump as well, to talk about how to divvy up this land. It's pretty hard to imagine Russia agreeing to give up their desire here and Ukraine agreeing to give up any land that was rightfully theirs before this invasion began.
Yeah, very difficult, and that's where the negotiations are going to get drawn out. It's going to take months for them to come. They may get a ceasefire. Perhaps President Trump will get the next step, which is to get Zelensky to the table. There may be a ceasefire, but a permanent ceasefire is going to take months to negotiate. David, this front line is about 600 miles, so that's roughly the distance between, say, Atlanta and Miami. That gives you an idea of how long this is. This 20% of Ukraine that the Russians have taken over, as you note, over 200,000 dead. That's what Mr. Putin has to show, 20% of Ukraine for more than 1 million casualties on both sides.
Incredible toll on both sides, civilians lost. And you think about the families, and we've seen the pictures both in Ukraine and in Russia, the families laying loved ones to rest who fought on both sides of this war. Steve Ganyard, our thanks to you.